Okay, hello everybody. It is me, Gerudo King, and per my previous video, just quickly announcing this is what I'm going to be working on. It is going to be a reading through of the Old Testament per the Concordant Literal. In this video, I'm going to read an introduction to the Pentateuch, which is the in the Concordant Literal, like whatever PDF I have. And then we are going to do the first 50 chapters of the Old Testament, which is going to be the entire book of Genesis. Okay, so let's not waste any time and just dive on in. Okay, so here we have the introduction to the Pentateuch. The publication of the CVOT, the Concordant Version of the Old Testament, is an ongoing project endeavoring to provide, in a consistent English translation, a closer reflection of the grammar, syntax, and the word usage of the ancient Hebrew manuscripts than can be found in other current versions. By analyzing the contextual usages, a single English word was first selected as the most suitable equivalent for each Hebrew word. To achieve readability, some words were given a limited number of idiomatic variants that are harmonious with the sense derived from the investigations. English words used are as the common translation of particular Hebrew words, and even idiomatic variants are not used for other Hebrew words. Then we have the significance of the typefaces. This is common for those of you who have read the Concordant Version of the Old Testament. The boldface type is used for words having exact counterparts in Hebrew. The lightface type is used for words which have been added to clarify the meaning of the respective word in the Hebrew text, thus avoiding ambiguous renderings and making the English read more smoothly. Examples from Genesis 1:2 will say over the surface, which is just over face in Hebrew, and let light come to be, or let light become in Genesis. I don't know why Usher just started playing. I think I'm actually in my girlfriend's house, so that's connected to her phone there. That was hilarious. Turning off the TV there. I promise I'm not an Usher fan. So we have this here. I believe I'm going to be reading the lightface type just for the sake of reading properly in the Concordant version, but when I study the Hebrew and I do the overall study of the Hebrew, I'm not going to be looking at the lightface type as often. Symbols and abbreviations. Where the definite article the appears in the Hebrew and we have omitted it, a small dot there takes its place on the word to which it belongs. An example from Genesis 1:16. There's a dot with luminaries, and that means the luminaries. We have used a small plus sign for the common Hebrew conjunction and when it is omitted in the Concordant version or rendered by a different English conjunction. Examples from Genesis 1:14, that they is and they. For is and for. Also, when the Hebrew preposition for to is not rendered by this term in English or left untranslated, we show this by the symbol that. It looks like a greater than sign or less than sign, however. As in Genesis 2:3, where that sign appears with by representing the Hebrew preposition generally rendered to. The symbol that's like a forward apostrophe is used to represent a special Hebrew term, which generally indicates the direct object of a sentence or clause. In addition, a number of superior abbreviations and words are used to indicate variations from the standard translation of Hebrew terms. The abbreviations used are listed in our abbreviation key under the heading Word Indicators. An example of these is the term H-man used in Genesis 17:12, where the Hebrew word literally meaning human appears where English idiom would more naturally call for the word man. This distinguishes this term from the regular Hebrew word for man as used in Genesis 2, verses 23 and 24. When the full word is given in superior letters, we do not list it in our abbreviation key. An example of this is the rendering way, journey, in Genesis 30:36, where this rendering of the Hebrew word for way is distinguished from the regular Hebrew word for journey as found in Exodus 17:1. Variant readings and footnotes. Since the incorporation of variant readings from sources other than the traditional Masoretic text involves the judgment of the translators, all words and phrases which are not derived directly from the standard Hebrew text are indicated both at their beginning and end. The symbols used are listed on the back cover. When a variant reading replaces a reading in the Masoretic text or can be supported by a consideration of common scribal errors in copying the text, a footnote will be provided to indicate the traditional reading or otherwise offer support for the emendation. For example, in Genesis 2:2, our translation uses sixth in place of the Masoretic reading seventh. As noted in the abbreviation key under the heading, Sources of Variant Reading, the small italic at the beginning of the word sixth, the small italic 7 at the beginning of the word sixth, indicates that this is the reading of the ancient Greek translation called the Septuagint, often identified in academic studies by the abbreviation LXX. In addition, the italic letters N and C at the end of the word inform the reader that the Samaritan Pentateuch and the Syriac translation of the passage also have this reading. And the small symbol, that approximation sign there, at the end of sixth indicates that even though the Masoretic text has seventh, as shown in the footnotes, the conjecture that sixth was the original word is given some support from the Masoretic reading itself. In this case, the two Hebrew words for sixth and seventh are similar enough to be confused, especially since they are both used elsewhere in the immediate context. Contrary conclusions are offered by others, but it seems more likely to us that the original text distinguished between the finishing of Elohim's work on the sixth day and his ceasing from the work on the seventh day. In some cases, footnotes provide alternate translations for especially difficult words or phrases, meanings of certain proper names, and occasional cross-references. The word haplography is often used in footnotes. It refers to the common scribal error where the copyist's eye skipped from one occurrence of a Hebrew letter, word, or words to a similar terminology in the adjacent context, thus omitting a portion of the original text. This apparently occurred in Genesis 41:56, where two phrases beginning with awe may well have appeared originally, but one phrase was lost when the eye of an early scribe moved from the first awl to the second awl in the process of copying the text. Emphasis. Pronouns in Hebrew are expressed by distinct endings to the regular verbs, but sometimes they are included as separate words as well. In such cases, there is probably an intention of emphasis. This is indicated by an accent mark following the pronoun, as in Genesis 3:12, where the word she is accented, or by repeating the pronoun, as done with the words I and I in Genesis 19:19. It is likely that when the definite article is used with the divine title, the Elohim, an emphasis of particularity is indicated. To reflect this, we generally use the rendering the one Elohim, per Genesis 5:22, in such cases. The normal word in order in a Hebrew thought is verb-subject rather than subject-verb as in English. Hence, in the less usual pattern, when the subject occurs before the verb in Hebrew, a certain measure of emphasis is laid on the subject. Often this is shown by inserting the appropriate pronoun immediately after such a noun, as in Genesis 1:2, where the concordant version has the earth, it came to be. This tells the reader that the Hebrew puts emphasis on the subject, earth. The unusual addition of the Hebrew letter he to a certain verb form suggests an intensity of feeling that is difficult to express in English, especially in the case of imperatives or exhortations. This is usually indicated in the CV by the addition of the light-faced word do, as in Genesis 11:3, do let us mold. Then we have the Hebrew verb. The Hebrew language, strictly speaking, has no verb forms which express either past or future. There are two main verb forms. One, when the verb inflections of person and number are indicated by post-fixing equivalent endings to the verb stem, the emphasis remains on the fact for which the stem stands. We have rendered such forms by the indefinite, he comes, or the past tenses, he came, he has come, he had come. When the context indicates a future sense, we have used the auxiliary term will with this verb form, he will come. And when a sense of contingency is called for, we use the auxiliary term would, he would come. Otherwise, this form is indicated by the use of a superior horizontal stroke in front of the verb. This verb usually, from which lays emphasis on the fact expressed by the verb is usually called the preterite perfect or complete tense in Hebrew grammars. And 2, when the pronoun part of the verb is prefixed, the emphasis shifts to the subject pronoun, thus indicating that it is in the process of carrying through an action. Generally, we have rendered this form by the progressive present tense, he is coming, or the future tense with the auxiliary term shall, he shall come. If the context indicates past time, the progressive past tense is used, he was coming. Where a sense of contingency is in view, the auxiliaries should, may, or might are used. He should come, he may come, he might come. This form is also rendered with the English auxiliary term let him come. Otherwise, it is indicated by the use of a superior vertical stroke in front of the verb. This verb, which usually lays emphasis on the ongoing action expressed by the verb, is usually called the future, imperfect, or incomplete tense in Hebrew grammars. Then finally, we have the law. This is the introduction to what we're reading. The Pentateuch, or 5 books of Moses, is referred to by our Lord as the law in Matthew 7:12, 22:40, and Luke 16:16. Any passage in these 5 books is referred to as being in the law, even if it is not in the decrees of Sinai. The title of 4 of the Mosaic scrolls consists of the opening words of the text. In a beginning for Genesis, and these are the names for Exodus, and he called for Leviticus, and these are the words for Deuteronomy. The title of Numbers is taken from the first sentence in the wilderness. Today we're going to be looking at Genesis, so I'm just going to focus on this. The first book is fitly called In a Beginning. The ordinary name, Genesis, suggests a birth rather than a creation, a renewal rather than a beginning. The creature can generate, and God alone originates. Apart from the revelations concerning the heavens given through the Apostle Paul, the first book of God's Word begins everything concerned with the human race on the earth. Not only are the heavens and the earth traced back to their true source, God, but the whole human family is traced back to Adam and to the sons of Noah. The chosen nation is seen in Abraham, a homeless Aramean, Deuteronomy 26:5, and in Israel with his 12 sons. Genesis is rightly named by its great author, In a Beginning. Sure enough, that's that. We have moved through the introduction, and now we are going to begin reading Genesis itself. Here is Genesis 1, chapter 1 through 50, and y'all enjoy. All right, Genesis chapter 1. In a beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. As for the earth, it came to be a chaos and vacant, and darkness was over the surface of the abyss. And the spirit of Elohim was vibrating over the surface of the waters. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be." And light came to be. Elohim saw the light, that it was good. Then Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And at evening came to be, and morning came to be, day 1. And Elohim said, "Let an atmosphere come to be in the midst of the waters, that it may be separating waters from waters." And it came to be so. Elohim made the atmosphere and separated the waters under the atmosphere from the waters above the atmosphere. And Elohim called the atmosphere heavens. And evening came to be, and morning came to be, the second day. And Elohim said, "Let the waters under the heavens flow together into one confluence, that the dry ground may appear." And it came to be so. And Elohim called the dry ground land, and the confluence of the waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, "Let the land become verdant with vegetation, with herbage yielding seed on the land, and the fruit tree bearing fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in it." And it came to be so. The land brought forth vegetation, herbage yielding seed according to its kind, and the fruit tree bearing fruit, whose seed is in it according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And evening came to be, and morning came to be, the third day. And Elohim said, "Let luminaries come to be in the atmosphere of the heavens to separate between the day and the night, that they may be for signs, for appointed seasons, for days and years. Let them be for luminaries in the atmosphere of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. Elohim made 2 great luminaries, the greater luminary for ruling the day, and the smaller luminary for ruling the night, and also the stars. Elohim placed them in the atmosphere of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule the day and the night, and to separate between the light and the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And evening came to be, and morning came to be, the 4th day. And Elohim said, Let the waters swarm with the swarming thing, the living soul, and let the fire fly above the earth on the face of the atmosphere of the heavens. And it came to be so. Elohim created the great sea monsters and every moving living soul with which the waters swarm according to their kind, and every winged flyer according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and increase. Fill the waters in the seas, and let the flyer increase on earth. And evening came to be, and morning came to be, the 5th day. And Elohim said, Let the earth bring forth the living soul, each according to its kind, domestic beast, creeper, and land animal, each according to its kind. And it came to be so. Elohim made the land animal according to its kind, the domestic beast according to its kind, and every creeper of the ground according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, Let us make humanity in our image, and according to our likeness. Let them sway over the fish of the sea, and over the flyer of the heavens, over the domestic beast, over every land animal, and over every creeper that is creeping on the earth. So Elohim created humanity in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created it. Male and female, he created them. Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, Be fruitful and increase. Fill the earth and subdue it. Hold sway over the fish of the sea and over the flyer of the heavens, over every domestic beast, over all the earth, and over every animal that is moving on the earth. And Elohim said, Since I have given you all seed-yielding herbage that is on the face of the entire earth, and every tree on which there is the fruit of a seed-yielding tree, it shall be yours for food. And to every animal of the earth, to every flyer of the heavens, and to every creeper on the earth in which there is a living soul, I have given all green herbage for food. And it came to be so. And Elohim saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And evening came to be, and morning came to be, the 6th day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and on their host. On the 6th day Elohim finished his work that he had made, and he ceased on the 7th day from all his work that he had made. And Elohim blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, for in it he ceased from all his work that Elohim had created by making it. These are the chronological records of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that Yahweh Elohim made earth and heavens. As for any shrub of the field, it had not yet come into being on earth, nor had any herbage of the field yet been sprouting, for Yahweh Elohim had not made it rain on the earth, and there was no human to serve the ground. But mist, it ascended from the earth and irrigated the whole surface of the ground. Yahweh Elohim formed the human out of the soil from the ground, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and the human became a living soul. Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put the human whom he had formed. So Yahweh Elohim made sprout from the ground every tree desirable to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and also the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There was a river flowing forth from Eden to irrigate the garden. From there it parted and became 4 head streams. The name of the first one is Pishon. It is the one surrounding the whole land of Havilah where the gold is. The gold of that land is very good. The pearl is there, and the onyx stone. The name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hiddekel. It is the one going east of Ashur. And the fourth river, it is the Euphrates. Then Yahweh Elohim took the human and settled him in the Garden of Eden to serve it and to keep it. And Yahweh Elohim instructed the human, saying, From every tree of the garden you may eat, yea, eat. But from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you must not eat from it, for on the day you eat from it, to die you shall be dying. And Yahweh Elohim said, It is not good for the human to be alone by himself. I shall make for him a helper as his complement. Yahweh Elohim had formed from the ground every animal of the field and every flyer of the heavens, and he brought each one to the human to see what he would call it. And whatever the human would call it, each living soul, that was its name. So the human was calling the names of every domestic beast, of every flyer of the heavens, and of every animal of the field, yet for the human no helper was available as his complement. Then Yahweh Elohim caused a stupor to fall on the human. While he was sleeping, he took one of his angular organs and closed up the flesh over its place. Yahweh Elohim built the angular organ that he had taken from the human into a woman and brought her to the human. The human said, This time is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This shall be called woman, for this was taken from her man. Therefore, a man shall forsake his father and his mother. He will cling to his wife, and both of them will be one flesh. Both of them were naked, the human and his wife, yet they were not ashamed. Now the serpent, it became more crafty than any other animal of the field that Yahweh Elohim had made. The serpent said to the woman, Indeed, did Elohim say, You shall not eat from every tree of the garden? The woman replied to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, yet of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, Elohim said, You shall not eat from it, and you shall not touch it, lest you should die. But the serpent said to the woman, Not to die shall you be dying, for Elohim knows that on the day you eat of it, your eyes will be unclosed, and you will become like Elohim, knowing good and evil. Then the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it brought a yearning to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable for gaining insight. So she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were unclosed, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made girdle skirts for themselves. Then they heard the sound of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden in the windy part of the day, and the human hid himself with his wife from the face of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. Yahweh Elohim called to the human and said to him, Adam, where are you? He replied to him, I heard the sound of you walking in the garden, and I was fearful because I was naked, so I hid. Then he asked, Who told you that you are naked unless you have eaten from the only tree that I instructed you by no means to eat from it? The human replied, The woman whom you have given to be with me, she gave me of that tree, and I ate. Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, What is this you have done? The woman replied, The serpent, he lured me, and I ate. Then Yahweh Elohim said to the serpent, Because you have done this, cursed shall you be away from every domestic beast and from every animal of the field. On your torso shall you crawl, and soil shall you eat all the days of your life. And I shall set enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall hurt you in the head, and you shall hurt him in the heel. And to the woman he said, I shall increase your grief, and the groanings of your pregnancy. In grief shall you bear children, yet by your husband is your restoration, and he shall rule over you. And to Adam he said, Because you hearkened to your wife's voice and ate from the only tree that I instructed you, saying, You must not eat from it, cursed is the ground on your account. In grief shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and weeds shall it sprout for you, and you will eat the herbage of the field. By the sweat of your brow shall you eat your bread until you return to the ground, for from it you were taken. For soil you are, and to soil you shall return. The human called his wife's name Eve, for she would become the mother of all the living. And Yahweh Elohim made for Adam and his wife tunics of skin and clothed them. Then Yahweh Elohim said, Behold, man has become like one of us in knowing good and evil. Now lest he should stretch out his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live for the eon. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to serve the ground from where he was taken. After he drove the human out, he made him tabernacle at the east of the Garden of Eden, and he set the cherubim and the flame of the revolving sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Now the human knew Eve his wife. She became pregnant and gave birth to Cain, saying, I have acquired a man through Yahweh. Then she proceeded to give birth to his brother Abel. Abel became a shepherd of the flock while Cain was serving the ground. And it came to be at the end of a year's days that Cain brought an approach present to Yahweh from the fruit of the ground. As for Abel, however, he brought some firstlings of his flock and their fat portions. And Yahweh gave heed to Abel and his approach present. But to Cain and his approach present he did not give heed, so Cain's anger grew very hot, and his face fell. Then Yahweh said to Cain, Why is your anger hot? And why is your face fallen? If you had done what is well, would you not lift up your face? But since you have not done well, there is a sin offering, a flockling reclining at the portal, and for you is restoration in his sacrifice. You are ruling over him. Cain said to his brother Abel, Let us go into the field. Now it came to pass while they were in the field that Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. So Yahweh said to Cain, Where's your brother Abel? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Then he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed, away from the ground, which has opened wide its mouth to take your brother's blood from your hand. When you serve the ground, it shall not continue to give its vigor for you. A rover and a wanderer shall you become on earth. Cain replied to Yahweh, Too great is my depravity to bear. Since you drive me out today off the surface of the ground, and since I shall be concealed from your presence and will become a rover and a wanderer on earth, it will come to be that anyone finding me shall kill me. Yet Yahweh said to him, Not so. Anyone killing Cain, sevenfold shall he be avenged. So Yahweh placed a sign for Cain, by no means to smite him, should anyone find him. Then Cain went forth from the presence of Yahweh, and he dwelt in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife. She became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Then he engaged in building a city, and he called the city's name by the name of his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehuel, and Mehuel, begot Methuselah. This is going to be fun. And Methuselah begot Lamech. Lamech took to himself two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. Then Ada gave birth to Jabal, and he became the father of the tent dwellers and the cattlemen. And the name of his brother was Jubal. He became the father of all who handle the harp and the shepherd's pipe. As for Zillah, she too gave birth to Tubal-Cain, who forged every artifact of copper and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, give ear to my saying. Truly a man I have killed for my injury, and a boy for my wealth. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77-fold. Adam knew Eve, his wife, again. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She called his name Seth, saying, Truly Elohim has sent for me another seed instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. As for Seth, to him too a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then this one was wounded, yet he called on the name of Yahweh. This is the scroll of the genealogical records of Adam. On the day Elohim created Adam, in the likeness of Elohim he made him. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them and called their name human on the day they were created. Adam lived 230 years and begot a son in his likeness and after his image. He called his name Seth. And the days of Adam, after his begetting Seth, came to be 700 years, and he begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Adam, which he lived, came to be 930 years. Then he died. Seth lived 205 years and begot Enosh. After his begetting Enosh, Seth lived 707 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Seth came to be 912 years, and he died. Enosh lived 190 years and begot Canaan. After his begetting Canaan, Enosh lived 715 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Canaan came to be 910 years. So all the days of Enosh came to be 905 years. Then he died. Yeah, this is that haplography thing that Enoch was talking about. I think I said that right. Canaan lived 170 years and begot Mahalalel. After his begetting Mahalalel, Canaan lived 740 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Canaan came to be 910 years, and then he died. Mahalalel lived 165 years and begot Jared. After his begetting Jared, Mahalalel lived 730 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Mahalalel came to be 895 years, and then he died. Jared lived 162 years and begot Enoch. After his begetting Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Jared came to be 962 years, and then he died. Enoch lived 165 years and begot Methuselah. Enoch walked with the one, Elohim. After his begetting Methuselah, he lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch came to be 365 years, while Enoch was walking with the one, Elohim. Then he was not found, for Elohim took him away. Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. After his begetting Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Methuselah came to be 969 years, and then he died. Lamech lived 188 years and begot a son. He called his name Noah, saying, "This one shall console us because of our doings, and because of the grief of our hands resulting from the ground that Yahweh has cursed." After his begetting Noah, Lamech lived 565 years and begot sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech came to be 753 years, and then he died. Noah came to be 500 years old. Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And that's the end of chapter 5. I'm going to take just a second here because we are also baking brownies. So I'm going to check and make sure that the brownies are good. Just a moment. Hollow, the brownies should be fine. They're good. They're chilling. Thank you. No, you don't get any brownies. All right, well, let's continue on here. This is chapter 6 here of of Genesis. Now it had occurred when humanity had started to increase on the surface of the ground, and daughters had been born to them. The sons of the Elohim saw the daughters of the human that they were good looking. So they took wives for themselves from any whom they chose. Then Yahweh said, "My spirit shall not abide in the human for the eon, in that he too is flesh. So his days will continue 120 years. As for the distinguished, they were on earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of the Elohim were coming to the daughters of the human, and they bore them offspring. They were the masterful ones who were from the eon, mortals of renown." Yahweh saw that the evil of humanity was multiplying on earth, and every form of the devisings of its heart was surely evil all the day. Yahweh regretted that he had made humanity on earth, and he grieved in his heart. So Yahweh said, I shall wipe out humanity that I have created off the surface of the ground, from human unto beast, unto the creeper, and unto the flyer of the heavens, for I regret that I have made them. Yet Noah, he found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the genealogical records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He became flawless in his generations. With the one Elohim Noah walked. Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was ruined before the one Elohim, and the earth was full of violence. Yet Yahweh Elohim saw the earth, and behold, it was ruined, for all flesh had ruined its ways on the earth. So Yahweh Elohim said to Noah, the era of the end of all human flesh has come before me, for the earth is full of violence because of their presence. Now behold, I am about to ruin them with the earth. Make for yourself an ark of sulfur wood. With nests shall you make the ark, and you will shelter it from the inside and from the outside with a sheltering coat. This is how you shall make it: 300 cubits, the length of the ark, 50 cubits its width, and 30 cubits its rise. Narrowing from its middle shall you make it, and to a cubit shall you finish it from above. You shall place the entrance opening of the ark in its side, and make lower, second, and third decks. Now behold, I myself am about to bring a deluge of water on the earth to wreck all flesh under the heavens which has the spirit of life in it. All that is in the earth, it shall decease. Yet I will set up my covenant with you, and you must come into the ark, you and your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Of every living creature of all flesh, you shall bring pairs from all into the ark to stay alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the flyer according to its kind, of the beast according to its kind, and of every creeper of the ground according to its kind, from all shall they come in pairs to you to stay alive. As for you, take for yourself from every food which is to be eaten, you must gather it up for yourself, so that it will come to be food for you and for them. Then Noah did according to all that Yahweh Elohim instructed him. He did just so. Then Yahweh Elohim said to Noah, come, you and all your household, into the ark, for I have seen you righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast you shall take with you 7 by 7, the sire and his dam, and of the beast that is not clean, of them pairs, the sire and his dam. Also of the clean flyer of the heavens 7 by 7, male and female, and of the flyer that is not clean, of them pairs, male and female, to keep seed alive on the surface of the entire earth. For in 7 days further I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And I will wipe out off the surface of the entire ground everyone who has risen, whom I have made. Noah did according to all that Yahweh Elohim had instructed him. Noah was 600 years old when the deluge of waters came to be on the earth. So Noah came into the ark, and with him his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, because of the waters of the deluge. Of the clean beast and of the beast that is not clean, and of the flyer and of everything that is moving on the ground, pair by pair, they came to Noah into the ark, male and female, just as Elohim had instructed Noah. It occurred after the 7 days that the waters of the deluge, they came upon the earth, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month. On this day, all the springs of the vast abyss broke forth, and the crevices of the heavens were opened, and the downpour was coming on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On this very day, Noah came into the ark with Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them. They and every wild animal according to its kind, and every domestic beast according to its kind, and every creeper that was creeping on the earth according to its kind, and every flyer according to its kind, every bird, every winged thing. They were coming to Noah into the ark, pair by pair, of all flesh which has the spirit of life in it. And those entering, male and female of all flesh, came just as Elohim had instructed him. Then Yahweh Elohim closed the ark about him. Now the deluge was coming 40 days and 40 nights on the earth, and the waters were increasing. They lifted up the ark so that it was high above the earth. While the waters were gaining the mastery over the earth and were exceedingly increasing, the ark was floating on the surface of the waters. Exceedingly, the waters, they gained the mastery over the earth. and all the lofty mountains under the entire heavens were covered. At 15 cubits upward, the waters had gained the mastery, so that all the lofty mountains were covered. All flesh that had been moving on the earth had deceased, of the flyer, of the domestic beast, of the wild animal, of every swarming thing that is swarming on the earth, and every human. Everyone who had the breath of the spirit of life in his nostrils, everything that had been in the drained area, they all died. Thus he had wiped out everyone who had risen on the surface of the ground, from human unto domestic beast, unto the creeper, and unto the flyer of the heavens. They were wiped off the earth. Only Noah remained, and those with him in the ark. The waters had the mastery of the earth for 150 days. Yet Elohim was mindful of Noah and of every wild animal and of every domestic beast that was with him in the ark. So Elohim caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The springs of the abyss and the crevices of the heavens were held in check, and the downpour from the heavens was shut up. The waters were returning off the earth, going and returning, and at the end of 150 days, the waters were abating. Then in the 7th month, on the 27th day of the month, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to go and to abate until the 10th month. In the 11th month, on day 1 of the month, the tops of the mountains appeared. It was at the end of 40 days that Noah opened a porthole of the ark that he had made and sent out a raven to see if the waters were slight. And it was faring forth to fare forth and to turn about until the waters had dried off the land. Then he sent out from him a dove to see if the waters were slight above the surface of the ground. Yet the dove did not find a resting place for the sole of her foot, and returned to him to the ark, for there was water on the surface of the entire earth. So he stretched out his hand and took her and brought her to him into the ark. He then waited still another 7 days and proceeded to send out the dove from the ark. When the dove came back to him at eventide, behold, a torn off olive leaf was in her beak. Then Noah knew that the waters were slight above the earth. So he waited still another 7 days, and once more, and sent out the dove. Yet not any more did she return to him again. It occurred in the 601st year of Noah's life, in the 1st month, on day 1 of the month, that the waters had drained off the land. When Noah took off the covering of the ark, he saw, and behold, the surface of the ground had drained. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the land was dry. Yahweh Elohim spoke to Noah, saying, Come forth from the ark, you and your wife, your sons and your sons' wives with you. Every wild animal that is with you, some of all flesh among the flyer and the domestic beast, also every creeper that is creeping on the earth, bring them forth with you, so they can swarm in the earth and be fruitful and increase on the earth. So Noah came forth, and with him his sons, his wife and his sons' wives, every wild animal, every creeper, and every flyer, everything moving on the earth, they came forth from the ark by their families. Then Noah built an altar to Yahweh. He took some of every clean domestic beast and some of every clean flyer and offered up scent offerings on the altar. Yahweh Elohim smelled the fragrant smell, and Yahweh Elohim said in his heart, Not any more will I maledict again the ground on account of humanity, for the bent of the human heart is evil from its youth. And not any more will I smite again every living flesh, just as I have done. In the future, for all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, cold and warmth, summer and winter, day and night, they shall not cease. Elohim blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and increase, fill the earth and subdue it. The fear of you and the dismay due to you shall come on every animal of the earth, and on every flyer of the heavens, on everything that is moving on the ground, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving animal that is alive shall be yours for food, as with the green herbage I give to you everything. Only flesh with its soul, its blood, must you not eat. You must not eat. However, I shall require your blood for your souls. From the hand of every animal I shall require it, and from the hand of humanity. From the hand of each man, as regards his fellow man, I shall require the soul of a human. Whoever sheds the blood of a human, by a human his blood shall be shed, for in the image of Elohim he has made humanity. As for you, be fruitful and increase, swarm in the earth, and hold sway over it. Then Elohim said to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And as for me, now I am setting up my covenant with you and with your seed after you, with every living soul that was with you, flyer, domestic beast, and every wild animal of the earth that was with you, all that came forth from the ark, every animal of the earth. And I will confirm my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a deluge, and never again shall there be a deluge to wreck the entire earth. Elohim further said, This is the sign of the covenant that I'm giving between me and you and every living soul that was with you for aeonian generations. My bow I have set in a cloud, and it will be for a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And it will occur when I make the sky cloudy over the earth with clouds, and my bow, appears in a cloud. Then I will remember my covenant between me and you and every living soul among all flesh, so that never again shall the waters become a deluge to wreck all flesh. When my bow comes to be in the cloud, I will see it to remember the aeonian covenant between Elohim and every living soul among all flesh, which is on the earth. So Elohim said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have set up between me and all flesh, which is on the earth. The sons of Noah who came forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. As for Ham, he became the father of Canaan. These three were Noah's sons, and from these the entire earth became inhabited. Noah, a man of the ground, started to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of the wine, he became drunk and exposed himself inside his tent. When Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his brother, he came forth and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took raiment, placed it against both their backs, and walking in backward, they covered the nakedness of their father. While their faces were turned away, they did not see the nakedness of their father. When Noah awoke from his wine and realized what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, a slave of slaves shall he become for his brothers. And he added, Blessed be Yahweh, the Elohim of Shem, and let Canaan become a slave for him. May Elohim make room for Japheth, may he tabernacle in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan become a slave for him. Noah lived after the deluge 350 years. So all the days of Noah came to be 950 years, and then he died. These are the genealogical records of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the deluge. Japheth's sons, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. Gomer's sons, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. Javan's sons, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Rodanim. From these the nations of the coastlands parted in their lands, each with its spoken language, by their families in their nations. Ham's sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Cush's sons, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabteka. Rama's sons, Sheba and Dedan. Cush begot Nimrod. He started to become a master in the earth. He was a master hunter before Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the master hunter before Yahweh. The principal cities of his kingdom were Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From this land Ashur came forth, and he built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Rezin, between Nineveh and Calah, that is the great city. Mizraim begot the Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, from where the Philistines came forth, and Caphtorim. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Arkite, the Sinite, the Arvadite, the Zemarite, and the Hamathite. Afterward, the Canaanite family is scattered. So the Canaanite boundary came to be from Sidon, as you come toward Gerar, as far as Gaza, as you come toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are Ham's sons, by their families, by their spoken languages, in their lands, in their nations. As for Shem, father of all the sons of Eber, and the oldest brother of Japheth, to him also sons were born. Shem's sons, Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Aram's sons, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad begot Canaan. Canaan begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber. To Eber were born 2 sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the land was distributed. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan begot Almadad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimel, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. Their dwelling place came to be from Mesha as far as you come towards Sephar, the hill country of the east. These are Shem's sons, by their families, by their spoken languages, in their lands, by their nations. These are the families of Noah's sons by their genealogical records, in their nations, and from these the nations parted over the earth after the deluge. Now the entire earth continued to have one language and the same words for all of them. It came to pass when they journeyed from the east that they found a valley in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. They said, each man to his associate, grant attention. Do let us mold bricks, and do let us burn them with a burning process. So the bricks served as stone for them, and asphalt served as mortar for them. And they said, grant attention. Let us build ourselves a city, and a tower with its top in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the surface of the entire earth. Then Yahweh descended to see the city and the tower that the sons of humanity had built. Yahweh said, behold, they are one people, with one language for all of them, and this is what they start to do. Now anything they plan to do will not be restricted for them. Grant attention. Do let us descend, and do let us disintegrate their language there, so that each man may not hearken to the language of his associate. Then Yahweh scattered them from there over the surface of the entire earth, and they left off building the city and the tower. Therefore one called its name Babel, because there Yahweh disintegrated the language of the entire earth, and Yahweh scattered them from there over the surface of the entire earth. These are the genealogical records of Shem. 2 years after the deluge, when Shem was 100 years old, he begot Arphaxad. After his begetting Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. As for Arphaxad, when he had lived 135 years, he begot Canaan. After his begetting Canaan, Arphaxad lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. As for Canaan, when he had lived 130 years, he begot Shelah. After his begetting Shelah, Canaan lived 330 years and begot sons and daughters. Then he died. As for Shelah, when he had lived 130 years, he begot Eber. After his begetting Eber, Shelah lived 330 years and begot sons and daughters. Eber lived 134 years and begot Peleg. After his begetting Peleg, Eber lived 270 years and begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 130 years and begot Reu. After his begetting Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Reu lived 132 years and begot Serug. After his begetting Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. Serug lived 130 years and begot Nahor. After his begetting Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. Nahor lived 79 years and begot Terah. After his begetting Terah, Nahor lived 129 years and begot sons and daughters. Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. These are the genealogical records of Terah. Terah, he had begotten Abram, Nahor, and Haran. In Haran, he had begotten Lot. Then Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took to themselves wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, while the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. Sarai was barren; she had no child. Terah took his son Abram and his son's son Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and he went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. When they came as far as Haran, they dwelt there. The days of Terah came to be 205 years. Then Terah died in Haran. Yahweh said to Abram, go by yourself from your land, from your kindred, and from your father's house to the land that I shall show you. I shall make you into a great nation, and I shall bless you. I shall indeed make your name great, and you will indeed be a blessing. I shall indeed bless those blessing you, and I shall curse the one maledicting you. In you all the families of the ground will be blessed. So Abram went just as Yahweh had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he went forth from Haran. And Abram took his wife Sarai and his brother's son Lot and all their goods that they had gotten and every soul they had acquired in Haran. They went forth to go to the land of Canaan, and they entered to the land of Canaan. Then Abram passed through the land as far as the place of Shechem to the high oak. The Canaanite was then in the land. Yet Yahweh appeared to Abram, said to him, "To your seed I shall give this land." Then Abram built there an altar to Yahweh who had appeared to him. From there he shifted toward the hill country to the east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. He built an altar there to Yahweh and called on the name of Yahweh. Then Abram decamped to go in stages toward the Negeb. Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was heavy in the land. And it came to be just as Abram got near to enter Egypt that he said to his wife from Sarai, "Behold, now I know that you are a woman lovely of appearance. So it will occur when the Egyptian men see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but keep you alive. Please say that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me for your sake, and my soul will remain alive owing to you." It came to be when Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptian men saw the woman, that she was very lovely. Also Pharaoh's chief officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. On account of her it went well with Abram, and it came to be that he had a flock of sheep, a herd of cattle, and donkeys, men servants and maidservants, jennies, and camels. Then Yahweh touched Pharaoh and his household with great and evil contagions on account of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh called to Abram and said, "What is this you've done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so I was about to take her from me as a wife? Now here's your wife. Take her and go." And Pharaoh instructed men to oversee him, and they sent away him and his wife and all that he had, and Lot went with him. Then Abram went up from Egypt toward the Negeb, and he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot went with him. Abram was heavily stocked with cattle, with silver, and with gold. So he went his way by stages from the Negeb as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the start, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar that he had formerly made there. And there Abram called on the name of Yahweh. Lot, too, was going along with Abram. He came to have a flock of sheep and a herd of cattle and tents. But the land would not sustain them while dwelling together, for their goods had become so abundant that they were not able to dwell together. There were disputes between the shepherds of Abram's cattle and the shepherds of Lot's cattle, and besides, the Canaanite and the Perizzite were then dwelling in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Please let there be no argument between me and you, and between my shepherds and your shepherds, for we're men that are brothers. Is not all the land open before you? Please part from me. If it is to the left, I shall indeed go to the right. If it is to the right, then I shall indeed go to the left." Lot lifted up his eyes and saw the whole Jordan basin as you come to Zor. It was like a garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, for all of it was well irrigated before Yahweh wrecked Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan basin, and Lot journeyed eastward. Thus they parted as a man from his brother. Abram he dwelt in the land of Canaan, while Lot he dwelt among the cities of the basin and moved his tent towards Sodom. But the men of Sodom were vicious and intense sinners against Yahweh. Then Yahweh he said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Now lift up your eyes and see from the place where you are, northward and to the Negeb, eastward and to the sea. For all the land that you are seeing, I shall give it to you and to your seed unto the eon. And I will make your seed like the soil grains of the land, so that if a man were able to count the soil grains of the sand, then your seed too might be counted. Rise, walk about in the land throughout its length and its width, for I shall give it to you and to your seed unto the eon." So Abram moved his tent and came to dwell among the oaks of Mamre at Hebron, and then he built an altar there to Yahweh. It came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim, that they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemaber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Sor. All these they joined forces and came to the Vale of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had served Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they revolted. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer came and the kings who were allied with him. They smote the Rephaim at Ashtaroth Karnaim, and Zuzim at Ham, the Emim at Shaveh-Kiriathaim, the Horites in the mountains of Seir, as far as the terebinth of Paran, which is by the wilderness. When they turned back, they came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh. They smote all the chiefs of the Amalekites and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom marched forth with the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. They drew up in battle array against them in the vale of Siddim, against the Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the vale of Siddim had wells upon wells of asphalt, and when the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah fled, some fell into them, and the remainder fled into the hill country. The invaders took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went away. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his goods before they went along, for he had been dwelling in Sodom. Then one who was delivered came and told Abram the Hebrew. He was tabernacling among the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol, and brother of Ener, who had entered into a covenant as Abram's confederates. When Abram heard that his brother had been taken captive, he emptied out his dedicated men, 318, born in his household, and he pursued them as far as Dan. At night he and his manservants split up against them. He smote them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is to the left of Damascus. He brought back all the goods, and he also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, and the women and the people too. In the vale of Shaveh, that is the king's vale, the king of Sodom came forth to meet him after he returned from smiting Kedorlaomer and the kings who were allied with him. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, he brought forth bread and wine, for he was a priest for El Supreme. He blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram by El Supreme, owner of the heavens and the earth. And blessed be El Supreme, who has awarded your foes into your hand." And Abram gave him 1/10 of all the booty. Then the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the souls and take the goods for yourself." But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I raise my hand high to swear to Yahweh El Supreme, owner of the heavens and the earth. I shall assuredly not take anything from all that belongs to you, from a thread to a sandal lacing, so that you should not say, 'It is I who made Abram rich.' Nothing for me but what my retainers have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, and their Eshcol and Mamre, they should take their portion." After these things, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, "You must not be fearing, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly increased reward." Abram replied, "My Lord Yahweh, what shall you give to me? I am going heirless, and the successor to my house, he will be Damascus Eliezer. And Abram added, "Behold, you have given no seed to me, and now a son of my household will take over from me." Yet here the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, "Not this one shall take over from you, but rather the one who shall come forth from your internal parts, he shall take over from you." Then he brought him forth outside and said, "Now look up toward the heavens and count off the stars, if you can number them." And he promised him, "Thus shall become your seed." Now Abram believed on Elohim, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. He also said to him, "I am Yahweh, who brought you forth from Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to tenant it." Yet he replied, "My Lord Yahweh, whereby shall I know that I shall enjoy its tenancy?" Now he said to him, "Do take for me a heifer in her 3rd year, a goat in her 3rd year, a ram in his 3rd year, a turtle dove, and a fledgling." So he procured all these for him and sundered them through the middle and put each sundered part to meet its corresponding part. Yet the birds he did not sunder. Birds of prey descended on the severed corpses, but Abram turned them back. When the sun was about to set, a stupor fell on Abram, and behold, the dread of a towering darkness was falling on him. Then he said to Abram, You shall know, yea, know, that your seed shall become a sojourner in a land which is not theirs, and they will serve them, and these will do evil to them and humiliate them for 400 years. But I will indeed adjudicate the nation which they shall serve, and afterward they shall come forth with a great many goods. As for you, you shall come to your fathers in peace. You shall be entombed at a good gray-haired age. And in the 4th generation they shall return here, for hitherto the depravity of the Amorite is not yet total. It came to pass when the sun had set and the darkening came, behold, a smoking stove and a fiery torch passed between these severed parts. On that day Yahweh contracted a covenant with Abram, saying, To your seed I give this land, from the stream of Egypt as far as the great stream, the stream Euphrates, the Kenite, the Kenizzite, the Cadmonite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Rephaim, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, she had borne him no children, yet she had an Egyptian maid, and her name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, Behold, now Yahweh has restrained me from bearing children. Please come to my maid. Perhaps I shall be built up through her. And Abram hearkened to Sarai's voice. Thus, at the end of 10 years that Abram had dwelt in the land of Canaan, Abram's wife Sarai took her Egyptian maid Hagar and gave her to her husband Abram as wife for him. So he came to Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she saw that she was pregnant, her mistress was lightly esteemed in her eyes. Then Sarai said to Abram, My wrong is on you. I gave my maid into your bosom. Now that she sees that she is pregnant, I am lightly esteemed in her eyes. May Yahweh judge between me and you. Abram replied to Sarai, Behold, your maid is in your hands. Do to her what is good in your eyes. So Sarai humbled her, and she ran away from her face. A messenger of Yahweh found her at a spring of water in the wilderness. It was the spring on the way to Shur. He said, Hagar, maid of Sarai, from where have you come, and where are you going? She replied, I have been running away from the face of Sarai, my mistress. Then the messenger of Yahweh told her, Return to your mistress and humble yourself under her hands. Besides, the messenger of Yahweh spoke to her, I shall increase, yea, increase your seed, so that it cannot be numbered for multitude. And the messenger of Yahweh spoke to her, Behold, you are now pregnant and shall bear a son. You will call his name Ishmael, for Yahweh has heard of your humiliation. And he shall become a man like an onager, his hand against all, and the hand of all against him, and against the face of all his brothers he shall tabernacle. Hagar called the name of Yahweh who had spoken to her, You are an El of seeing, for she said, Have I indeed seen here after the one who sees me? Therefore one called this well of the living one who sees me. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore for him, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael for Abram. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El who suffices. Walk before me and become flawless. I am determined to give my covenant between me and you. I shall increase you exceedingly, yea, exceedingly. Then Abram fell on his face. And Elohim spoke to him, saying, As for me, behold, this is my covenant with you. You will become the father of a throng of nations. So your name shall no longer be called Abram, but your name will become Abraham. For father of a throng of nations have I appointed you. I will cause you to be exceedingly, yea, exceedingly fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you. I have set up my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you, throughout their generations, as an Eonian covenant, to be Elohim to you and to your seed after you. And I give to you and to your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as an Eonian holding, and I will be an Elohim to them. Then Elohim spoke to Abraham, As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, throughout their generations. This is my covenant that you shall keep between me and yourselves and your seed after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised. Namely, you will be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and this will be the covenant sign between me and yourselves. Throughout your generations, every male among you shall be circumcised when he is 8 days old. Anyone born in the household or acquired with money from any foreigner's son who is not of your seed. He shall be circumcised, yea, circumcised, the manservant born in your household or acquired with your money. Thus will my covenant be marked in your flesh as an Aeonian covenant. As for the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, this soul will be cut off from his people. He has annulled my covenant. Elohim spoke further to Abraham. As for your wife, Sarai, you shall not call her name Sarai, for Sarah will be her name. I will bless her. Indeed, I will give you a son by her, and I will bless him. She will give rise to nations. Kings of peoples shall come from her. Then Abraham fell on his face. He laughed and said in his heart, Can a child be born to me who is 100 years old? Or could Sarah, a 99-year-old, possibly bear a child? So Abraham said to the one Elohim, Oh, that Ishmael should live before you. Elohim replied, Nevertheless, your wife Sarah will be bearing a son for you, and you will call his name Isaac. I will set up my covenant with him as an Aeonian covenant for his seed after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I will bless him and make him fruitful and increase him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make a great nation of him. But my covenant I shall set up with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear for you in the next year at this appointed time. When he had finished speaking with him, Elohim ascended from Abraham. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael, and all those born in his household, and all those acquired with his money, every male among the people of Abraham's household, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on this very day, just as Elohim had spoken to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. And his son Ishmael was 13 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. On this very day, Abraham was circumcised, and also his son Ishmael. And all the men of his household, the homeborn and those acquired with money from a foreigner's son, they were circumcised with him. Yahweh appeared to him among the oaks of the Mamre as he was sitting at the opening of the tent when the day was brightly warm. When he lifted up his eyes, behold, he saw 3 men standing by over against him. He saw them, he ran from the opening of the tent to meet them and bowed down toward the earth. He said, My Lord, if now I have found grace in your eyes, please do not pass by your servant. Let a little water now be taken, then wash your feet and lean back under the tree. Let me take a morsel of bread and brace your heart. Afterward you may pass on, for on this account you have passed by your servant. They replied, You shall do so just as you said. Abraham hastened toward the tent to Sarah and said, Take quickly 3 seah measures of meal flour, knead it, and make ember cakes. That sounds really delicious. Next, Abraham ran out to the herd and took a bull calf of the herd, tender and good, and gave it to the lad who hastened to prepare it. Then he took clotted cream and milk and the bull calf of the herd that he had prepared. He set it before them and was standing by them under the tree while they ate. They asked him, Where's your wife, Sarah? He replied, Behold, in the tent. Now he said, I shall return to you according to the season of life. Behold, your wife Sarah will have a son. Yet Sarah had been hearing at the opening of the tent, and she was behind it. Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in days, and the path in accord with women was halted to continue for Sarah. So Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have become worn out, will luxury occur to me while my Lord is old? And Yahweh said to Abraham, Why was this that Sarah laughed, saying, Shall I indeed truly bear a child when I am old? Is anything too difficult for Yahweh? At the appointed time I shall return to you, and according to the season of life, Sarah will have a son. Yet Sarah dissimulated, saying, I did not laugh, for she stood in fear. He replied, No, but you did laugh. When the men arose from there, they gazed down, overlooking Sodom. And Abraham went with them to see them off. Then Yahweh said, Shall I keep covered from Abraham what I will do? Abraham, he shall become a great and staunch nation, and in him all the nations of the earth will be blessed. For I have become acquainted with him in order that he may enjoin on his sons and on his household after him to keep the way of Yahweh, to do what is right and duly just, so that Yahweh may bring on Abraham all that he has promised concerning him. Then Yahweh said, the outcry over Sodom and Gomorrah is great indeed, and their sin, it is exceedingly grave indeed. I shall now descend and see whether they have acted altogether according to the outcry over it that has come to me, and if not, I will know. From there the men turned around and went toward Sodom. Yet Yahweh, he was still standing before Abraham. So Abraham came close and said, will you indeed sweep off the righteous with the wicked? Perhaps there are 50 righteous in the midst of the city. Will you indeed sweep off and not bear with the entire place on account of the 50 righteous who are within it? Far be it from you to act in this manner, to put to death the righteous with the wicked, so that it would occur with the righteous as with the wicked. Far be it from you, the judge of the entire earth, would he not execute right judgment? Yahweh replied, if I should find in Sodom 50 righteous in the midst of the city, then I will bear with the entire place for their sake. Abraham answered and said, behold, now I have ventured to speak to Yahweh, though I am soil and ashes. Perhaps the 50 righteous lack 5. Will you ruin the entire city because of 5? And he replied, I will not ruin it if I should find there 45. And he again proceeded to speak to him and said, perhaps 40 shall be found there? And he replied, I will not do it for the sake of the 40. Yet he said, now my Lord must not be angry, but let me speak. Perhaps 30 shall be found there? And he replied, I will not do it if I should find there 30. Yet he said, behold, now I have ventured to speak to my Lord. Perhaps 20 shall be found there. And he replied, I will not ruin it for the sake of the 20. Yet he said, now my Lord must not be angry, but let me speak only this once. Perhaps 10 shall be found there. And he replied, I will not ruin it for the sake of the 10. As soon as Yahweh had finished speaking with Abraham, he went away, and Abraham returned to his place. The 2 messengers came to Sodom in the evening, as Lot was sitting in the gateway of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he arose to meet them, and he bowed down with his brow toward the earth. And he said, behold, now, my lords, please turn in, and lodge at the house of your servant, and wash your feet. Then you can rise early and go on your way. Yet they said, no, for we shall lodge in the square. But he urged them so intensely that they turned in with him and entered his house. He made a feast for them and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. They had not yet lain down when the men of the city, men of Sodom that they were, surrounded the house, from youth even to old man, all the people without exception. They called out to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them forth to us, and let us know them. So Lot went forth to them toward the portal and closed the door after him. He said to them, oh, do not do such evil, my brothers. Oh, behold, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Oh, let me bring them forth to you. Do to them as is good in your eyes. But do not do anything to these men, for on this account they have come under the shadow of my rafters. But they replied, come close yonder. And they added, this one came to sojourn here as an alien, yet he is judging, yea, judging. Now we shall do more evil to you than to them. And they urged intensely against the man, against Lot, and they came close to break the door. Then the 2 men stretched out their hands and brought Lot into the house, and closed the door. As for the men who were at the portal of the house, they smote them with a dazzled perception, from the small unto the great, so they tired of finding the portal. The 2 men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here? Son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and all who are yours in the city, bring them forth from the place. For we are about to bring this place to ruin, because great is the outcry over them before the face of Yahweh. And Yahweh has sent us to wreck it. So Lot went forth and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were to take his daughters, and said, get up, go forth from this place, for Yahweh is about to bring the city to ruin. But in the eyes of his sons-in-law, he was as if one making fun. As dawn came up, the messengers rushed Lot on, saying, get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are found here, and come out, lest you be swept off in the depravity of the city. Yet he was dallying, and so, with fast grip, the men took him by the hand, and his wife by the hand, and his 2 daughters by the hand, for Yahweh was sparing him. And they brought him forth, and let him rest outside the city. It came to pass, when they had brought them forth outside, that one of them said, escape for your soul. Do not look behind you, and do not stand still anywhere in the basin. Escape to the mountainous area, lest you be swept off. Yet Lot said to them, "Oh, certainly not, my lords. Oh, behold, your servant has found grace in your eyes, and you have magnified your kindness that you have shown me in preserving my soul alive. But I cannot escape to the mountainous area, lest evil cling to me and I die. Oh, behold, the city is near enough to flee there, and it is inferior. Oh, let me escape there. Is it not inferior? Let my soul live." He replied to them, "Behold, I will lift up your face even in this manner by my not overturning the city that you speak of. Hasten, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you have come there." Therefore one calls the name of the city Zor, or Zoar. The sun, it came forth over the earth. When Lot, he came to Zoar. Then Yahweh, he caused sulfur to rain on Sodom and Gomorrah. Fire came from Yahweh from the heavens. Thus he overturned these cities and the entire basin, and all those dwelling in the cities, and everything sprouting from the ground. Yet his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a monument of salt. Abraham rose early in the morning to go to the place where he had stood before the face of Yahweh. And he gazed down on the surface of Sodom and Gomorrah and on the entire surface of the basin area, and behold, he saw that the fumes ascended from the land like the fumes of a lime kiln. So it came to pass, when Elohim wrecked the cities of the basin, that Elohim was mindful of Abraham and sent Lot off from the midst of the overturning, as he had overturned the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Now Lot went up from Zoar and dwelt in the hill country, and his 2 daughters were with him, for he was fearful to dwell in Zoar. So he was dwelling in a cave, he and his 2 daughters with him. The firstborn said to the junior sister, "Our father, he is old, and there is no man in the area to come on us according to the way of all the earth. Do go, let us give our father wine to drink, and then do let us lie with him, and keep seed alive from our father." So they gave their father wine to drink that night. Then the firstborn came and lay with his father, or with her father. Yet he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. It came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said to the junior sister, "Behold, I lay with our father yesternight. Let us give him some wine to drink tonight also, then come and lie with him, that we may keep seed alive from our father." So they again gave their father wine to drink that night. And the junior sister got up and lay with him. Yet he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus the 2 daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab, saying, "From my father. He is the father of the Moabites unto this day." As for the junior sister, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ammi, saying, "Son of my kinsman." He is the father of the sons of Ammon to this day, unto this day. Abraham journeyed from there to the Negev area and dwelt in between Kadesh and Shur. While he sojourned as an alien in Gerar, Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister," for he feared to say, "She is my wife," lest the men of the city kill him on account of her. Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But Elohim came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "Behold, you are to die on account of the woman whom you have taken, for she is the spouse of a possessor." Now Abimelech, he had not even gone near her, and he said, "My lord, are you going to kill me, even an unknowing and righteous nation? Did not he himself say to me, 'She is my sister'? And moreover, did not she herself say, 'He is my brother'? In the sincerity of my heart and in the innocence of my palms have I done this." The one, Elohim, replied to him in the dream, "I too know that you have done this in the sincerity of your heart, and I was also keeping you back from sinning against me. Therefore I did not allow you to touch her. Now restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, that he may pray about you, so that you may live. But if you are not restoring her, know that you shall die, yea, die, you and all who are yours." So Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and reported all these things before their ears. And all the men became exceedingly fearful. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? And wherein have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom so great a sin? You have done to me things that should not be done." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What did you have in view that you did this thing?" Abraham replied, "Because I said to myself, there is surely no fear of Elohim in this place, and they will kill me on account of my wife. And besides, she is truly my sister, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. It came to pass, when Elohim made me stray from my father's house, that I said to her, 'This is your kindness that you should show me. At every place where we shall come, say of me, He is my brother.' Then Abimelech took 1,000 shekels of silver and a flock and a herd, men servants and maid servants, and gave them to Abraham. He also restored his wife Sarah to him. And Abimelech said to Abraham, Behold, my land is before you. Dwell where it is good in your eyes. To Sarah he said, Behold, I have given 1,000 shekels of silver to your brother. Now this will serve you as a covering of eyes before all who are with you. So in all respects you are now publicly vindicated. Then Abraham prayed to the one Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants so that they could bear again. For Yahweh had restrained tightly every womb in Abimelech's household on account of Abraham's wife Sarah. Now Yahweh took note of Sarah, just as he had said, and Yahweh did for Sarah what he had promised. So Sarah became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Abraham in his old age at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore for him, Isaac. Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, just as Elohim had instructed him. Now Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, Elohim has prepared laughter for me. Everyone who hears it is laughing with me. And she added, Who would have declared to Abraham that Sarah would nurse sons? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. The boy grew up and was weaned, and Abraham prepared a great feast on the day when Isaac was weaned. Now Sarah observed the son whom the Egyptian woman Hagar had borne to Abraham, making fun about her son Isaac. So she said to Abraham, Drive out this maidservant and her son, for this maidservant's son shall not take over from you with my son, with Isaac. This request was very displeasing in Abraham's eyes on account of his son. Yet Elohim spoke to Abraham, Let it not be displeasing in your eyes about the lad and about your maidservant. In all that Sarah had said to you, hearken to her voice, for it is through Isaac that seed shall be called for you. As for the son of the maidservant, I shall also constitute him a great nation, for he too is your seed. So Abraham rose early in the morning. He took bread and a flask of water and gave them to Hagar, placing them over her shoulder, and gave her the boy. Then he dismissed her, and she went and strayed in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water from the flask was finished, she flung the boy under one of the shrubs, and she went and sat down by herself, aloof from him, as far off as a bow shot, for she said, Let me not stare on the boy's death. So she sat there aloof from him, and she lifted up her voice and lamented. Elohim heard the voice of the lad, and a messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the heavens and said to her, What troubles you, Hagar? You must not fear, for Elohim has hearkened to the lad's voice where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and take a fast grip on him with your hand, for I shall constitute him a great nation. Then Elohim focused her eyes, and she saw a well of living water. She went and filled the flask with water and gave the lad to drink. Elohim was with the lad. He grew up and dwelt in the wilderness and became a great bowman. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. It came to pass at that time that Abimelech with Phicol, the chief of his military host, spoke to Abraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you are doing. So do swear now to me here by Elohim that you shall assuredly not deal falsely with me, or my progeny, or my posterity. According to the kindness that I have shown to you, you shall deal with me and the land in which you sojourn. And Abraham said, I swear. Then Abraham reproved Abimelech on account of the well of water which the servants of Abimelech had snatched. But Abimelech replied to him, I do not know who has done this thing, and moreover, you did not tell me, and besides, I had not heard of it until today. Then Abraham took a flock of sheep and a herd of cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them contracted a covenant. When Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock aside by themselves, Abimelech said to Abraham, What is the meaning here of these 7 ewe lambs that you have set aside by themselves? Abraham replied, You must take the 7 ewe lambs from my hand in order that it may be by a testimony for me that I have delved at this well. Therefore one called this place Beersheba, because there the two of them had sworn an oath. When they had contracted the covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech got up with Phicol, the chief of his military host, and they returned to Philistine land. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk at Beersheba and called there on the name of Yahweh, the Eonian El. Abraham sojourned many days as an alien in Philistine land. It came to pass after these things that the one, Elohim, he probed Abraham and said to him, Abraham. And he answered, Here I am. Then he said, Take now your son, your only one, whom you love, Isaac, and go by yourself to the land of Moriah, and offer him up there as an ascent offering on one of the mountains which I shall indicate to you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took his 2 lads and his son Isaac with him. When he had split the wood for the ascent offering, he set out and went to the place which the one Elohim had indicated to him. It was on the 3rd day that Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from afar. Then Abraham said to his lads, You sit there with the donkey, while I and the youth shall indeed go thus far. There we shall worship, and we shall indeed return to you. Now Abraham took the wood for the ascent offering and placed it on his son Isaac, while he took the fire and the knife in his hand, and the 2 of them went along together. Then Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, My father. And he replied, Here I am, my son. Now he said, Behold the fire and the wood, yet where is the flockling for the ascent offering? Abraham answered, Elohim, he shall see for himself as to the flockling for the ascent offering, my son. And the 2 of them walked on together. They came to the place that the one Elohim had indicated to him. Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood. He trussed up his son Isaac and placed him on the altar above the wood. Then Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. When the messenger of Abraham, or Yahweh, called to him from the heavens and said, Abraham, Abraham. And Abraham replied, Here I am. He continued, Do not stretch out your hand on the youth, and do not do anything to him. For now I know that you fear Elohim, since you have not kept back from your son, your only one, from me. When Abraham lifted up his eyes, he observed, behold, there was one ram held back in the thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as an ascent offering instead of his son Isaac. Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Yireh, of which it is said today, On the mount of Yahweh he is seen to. The messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time from the heavens. He said, By myself have I sworn, averring as Yahweh, that because you have done this thing and have not kept back your son, your only one, from me, I shall bless you, and increase, increase your seed like the stars of the heavens and like the sand on the seashore. Your seed shall take over the gateway of its enemies, and all the nations of the earth will bless themselves in your seed, inasmuch as you have hearkened to my voice. Then Abraham returned to his lads. They set out and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. It came to pass after these things that Abraham was told, saying, Behold, Milcah, she too has borne sons to your brother Nahor, who is his firstborn, Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, Shesad, Hezo, Pildash, Yidlap, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begot Rebekah. These 8 sons Milcah bore to Abraham's brother Nahor. And his concubine, her name was Ruma. She also gave birth to Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Makkah. Sarah's life came to be 127 years. These were the years of Sarah's life. Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, which is in the vale. It is now Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to bewail Sarah and to lament over her. Then Abraham arose from beside his dead. He spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, Although I am a sojourner and an alien settler among you, give me a holding for a tomb among you, and let me entomb my dead from before me. The sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying, Suppose you hear us, my lord. You are a prince of Elohim in our midst. Entomb your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us shall prevent you from entombing your dead in his tomb. Then Abraham arose and bowed down to the people of the land, to the sons of Heth. Abraham spoke to them, saying, If there is consent in your soul to let me entomb my dead from before me, so hear me and intercede before me with Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, that he give me the cave of Machpelah, which is at the end of his field, at the full current price, let him give it to me as a holding for a tomb in your midst. Now Ephron was sitting in the midst of the sons of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham before the ears of the sons of Heth, all those who had come to the gateway of his city, saying, No, my lord, hear me. I give the field to you, and the cave that is in it, I give it to you. Before the eyes of the sons of my people, I give it to you. Entomb your dead. Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land and spoke to Ephron before the ears of the people of the land, saying, Suppose you would hear me, I will give silver shekels for the field. Take them from me, and let me entomb my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, saying, Suppose you hear me, my lord, a piece of land at 400 shekels of silver. What is that between me and you? Entomb your dead. Abraham hearkened to Ephron. Then Abraham weighed out for Ephron the money that he had named before the ears of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver at the rate current among the merchants. Thus the field of Ephron at Machpelah, that is adjoining Mamre, the field and the cave that is in it, and all the trees that are in the field, within all its boundary round about, became confirmed to Abraham as his acquisition before the eyes of the sons of Heth, all those who had come to the gateway of his city. After this, Abraham entombed his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah that is adjoining Mamre. It is now Hebron in the land of Canaan. Thus the field and the cave in it became confirmed to Abraham by the sons of Heth as a holding for a tomb. Abraham was now old. He was advanced in days, and Yahweh, he had blessed Abraham in all things. Abraham said to a servant, the eldest of his household, who was ruling over all that he had, Put your hand, please, under my thigh. I shall make you swear by Yahweh Elohim of the heavens and Elohim of the earth that you shall not take a wife for my son, for Isaac, from your daughters of the Canaanite among whom I am dwelling. Rather you shall go to my land from whence I came, and to my kindred, and that you will take a wife for my son, for Isaac, from there. The servant said to him, Perhaps the woman shall not be willing to come following me to this land. Shall I bring back your son to the land from where you came forth? Abraham replied to him, Be on your guard, lest you bring my son back there. Yahweh Elohim of the heavens and Elohim of the earth, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred whence I came, and who spoke to me and who swore to me, saying, To you and to your seed shall I give this land, he shall send his messenger before you, and you will take a wife for my son, for Isaac, from there. But if the woman should not be willing to come following you to this land, then you will be absolved of this my oath. But you shall not bring my son back there. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his lord, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 camels from the camels of his lord, and with the gifts of all the goods of his lord under his hand, he set out and left for Aram Naharaim, for the city of Nahor. There he made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at eventide, at the time when the women go out to draw forth water. And he said, O Yahweh Elohim of my lord Abraham, I pray, let it happen before me today, and show benignity to my lord Abraham. Behold me standing by at the spring of water, and the daughters of the people of the city are going out to draw forth water. So let it come to pass that the maiden to whom I say, Please lower your jar that I may drink, and she says to me, Drink, and I shall also give your camels to drink until they finish drinking. Let her be the one you have made ready beforehand for your servant, for Isaac. Thereby I shall know that you have shown benignity to my lord Abraham. This came to pass ere he had finished speaking in his heart, and behold, Rebekah was coming forth, who had been born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, and her jar was on her shoulder. The maiden was of very good appearance, a virgin. No man had known her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. The servant ran to meet her and said, Please let me sip a little water from your jar. She replied, Drink, my lord. And she quickly let down her jar upon her hand and gave him to drink. When she had finished letting him drink, she said, Also for your camels I shall draw forth until they finish drinking. And she quickly emptied out her jar into the trough, ran again to the well to draw forth water, and drew forth for all his camels. And the man was gazing wondrously at her, silently wanting to know whether or not Yahweh had prospered his way. Then it came to pass, just as the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a golden nose pendant, a beka in weight, and 2 bracelets, 10 gold shekels in weight for her wrists. Then he asked her and said, "Whose daughter are you? Tell me, please, is there room in your father's house for us to lodge for the night?" She replied to him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor." He further said to him, "Besides, we have enough crushed straw and provender as well as room to lodge for the night." Then the man bowed his head and worshipped Yahweh and said, "Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of my lord Abraham, who has not forsaken his benignity and his faithfulness with my Lord. As for me, Yahweh has guided me in the way to the house of my Lord's brothers." The girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran to the man outside the spring. This came to pass as soon as he had seen the nose pendant and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and as he heard the words of his sister Rebekah, saying, "Thus the man spoke to me." So Laban came to the man, and behold, he was still standing by the camels at the spring. He said to him, "Come in, blessed one of Yahweh. Why should you stand outside when I myself have cleared out the house and a place for the camels?" Then the man came to the house, one unharnessed the camels, and gave crushed straw and provender to the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. Yet when bread to eat was placed before him, he said, "I shall not eat until I have spoken my words." He replied, "Speak." Then he said, "I am Abraham's servant. Yahweh, he has blessed my Lord exceedingly, and he has become great. He has given him a flock of sheep and a herd of cattle, silver and gold, men servants and maidservants, camels, donkeys. Sarah, my Lord's wife, bore one son for my Lord after she had grown old, and he has given him everything he has. My Lord made me swear, saying, 'You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanite in whose land I am dwelling, but rather you shall go to my father's house and to my family, and you will take a wife for my son from there.' And I said to my Lord, 'Perhaps the woman shall not come following me.' And he replied to me, 'Yahweh Elohim, before whom I walk, he himself shall send his messenger along with you, and he will prosper your way. And you will take a wife for my son from my family and from my father's house. Then you shall be absolved of my oath of imprecation when you come to my family, and they should not give her to you. Then you will be absolved of my oath of imprecation. When I came today to the spring, I said, Yahweh Elohim of my Lord Abraham, I pray, if you are prospering my way on which I am now going, behold me standing by at this spring of water, where the daughters of the people of the city are going out to draw forth water. So let it come to pass that the damsel who is coming forth to draw forth water, and to whom I say, please let me drink a little water from your jar, and she says to me, drink not only you, but I shall also draw forth water for your camels. Let her be the woman whom Yahweh has made ready beforehand for my Lord's son. Thereby I shall know that you have shown benignity to my Lord Abraham. Ere I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah was coming forth, and her jar was on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew forth water. And I said to her, please, let me drink a little water from your jar. So she quickly let down her jar upon her hand and replied, drink, and also your camels I shall give to drink. Then I drank, and she gave the camels to drink also. I asked her and said, whose daughter are you? She replied, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore for him. Then I put the pendant on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists, and I bowed my head and worshipped Yahweh and blessed Yahweh Elohim of my Lord Abraham, who has guided me in the reliable way to take the daughter of my Lord's brother for his son. And now, if you really mean to show kindness and faithfulness to my Lord, tell me, and if not, tell me that I may turn around to the right or to the left. Laban and Bethuel answered and said, this matter comes forth from Yahweh. We are unable to speak bad or good to you. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go, that she may become the wife of your Lord's son, just as Yahweh had spoken. And it came to pass, just as Abraham's servant had heard their words, that he bowed in worship toward the earth before Yahweh. Then the servant brought forth articles of silver and articles of gold and garments. and he gave them to Rebekah, and he gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then they ate and drank, he and the men who were with him, and they lodged there for the night. When they arose in the morning, he said, "Dismiss me and let me go to my lord." But her brother and her mother said, "Let the maiden abide with us a few days, or even 10, and afterward you may go." He replied to them, "Do not delay me, since Yahweh, he has prospered my way. Dismiss me and do let me go to my lord." And they said, "We shall call the maiden. Do let us ask her at her mouth." So they called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" And she replied, "I will go." Then they dismissed their sister Rebekah with her wet nurse, and Abraham's servant with his men. They blessed their sister Rebekah and said to her, "O you, our sister, may you give rise to thousands of myriads, and may your seed take over the gate of those who are hating it." Then Rebekah and her maidens got up and rode on the camels and went after the man. Thus the servant took Rebekah and went his way. Now Isaac, he had come back from having set out to the well Lehi-roi, for he was dwelling in the Negev area. Isaac went forth to meditate in the field before the evening. When he lifted up his eyes, behold, he saw camels coming. When Rebekah lifted up her eyes and saw Isaac, she swooped down off the camel and said to the servant, "Who is this man there who is walking in the field to meet us?" The servant replied, "He is my lord." So she took her veil and covered herself. And the servant related to Isaac all the things that he had done. Isaac then brought her to the tent of Sarah his mother. Thus he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he was loving her. Now Isaac was comforted after the loss of his mother. Abraham again took a wife. Her name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shuach. Jokshan begot Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan became the Eshurim and the Letushim and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanak, Ibidah, and Eldah. All these were Keturah's sons. Abraham had given everything he had to his son Isaac. But to the sons of the concubines that Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and while he was still alive, sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the land of the east. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, and that he had lived 175 years. Abraham breathed his last and died in a good and gray-haired age, old and satisfied with days, and was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael entombed him in the cave of Machpelah, adjoining Mamre, in the field of Ekron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field that Abraham had bought from the sons of Heth. Okay, I'm back. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi cut out, like, and it won't connect. I don't like it. It won't let me reconnect, and it's pretty depressing because that was pretty interesting to me. So, uh, that kind of sucks for like the first video. Um, what I'm thinking is that I will record the second half privately. The pretty much the second half of Genesis. I still have another like hour to go. Um, and when that works again, I will come back and I will I might remove this video and just put it live again and just have it all play at once, like connected though. Um, so it'll be like a scheduled video that's uploaded already, but it'll just play live. Um, and from there, I hopefully I can finish that up later tonight. Maybe I'll do it like on Monday, and then on Wednesday, maybe around like 1 or 2, I can start working. Probably around 2, I can start reading Exodus for you all. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That was not my intention at all. It's just the internet clunked out, and it won't reconnect. It just says no internet. So uh, on the router right now, it just happened very suddenly. So I can't change that. Sorry, but thank you all for tuning in. For the few of you that were there, that was interesting. That was really interesting to me. But yeah, more on the Pentateuch on Wednesday, and hopefully Monday evening I can recite more of Genesis here for y'all. Okay, thank you, and grace and peace to you all.